Hello and good afternoon, everyone. We're excited to have you join us today as we celebrate the International Women's Day 2021. The theme for today is Choose to Challenge, and we are celebrating every woman everywhere at this point. However, we have chosen to celebrate some women who are doing work, remarkable work in the circular economy sector in Nigeria, and we are happy that they're all here today to join us. Today, we will be celebrating them and also learning from them, not just about their business, but how they were able to discover the opportunities that are available within the circular economy. A few things to note is that we'll be receiving live questions. We'll be answering live questions in this meeting today. So if you would like to ask any of our panelists questions, please indicate in the chat box and we will let you ask when the time is right. Also, it will be great to know you and know more about you. So please introduce yourself in the chat box. Tell us your name, tell us what you do, and we would like to, it'll be great to connect with you. Okay, so this program is brought to you by Nigeria Climate Innovation Center, NCIC. The Nigeria Climate Innovation Center aims to support local innovations, provide access to finance, capacity building, and lead the growth of a viable green economy in Nigeria. Today, as we celebrate women, we hope that this webinar educates you, inspires you, and motivates you to take climate action for a safer Nigeria. Thank you so much again for joining us. And at this point, I would like to invite Ms. Nike Olafimiho. She's one of the board members at the Nigeria Climate Innovation Center. We would like to invite her for her welcome address. Ms. Nike, can you hear me? Hello, Ms. Nike, can you hear me?
Yes, my microphone was muted.
Okay. Before. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my utmost pleasure to invite you to this year's International Women's Day. As you know, it's a day that's set apart on which we celebrate women every year. And it's symbolic of the historic journey of women around the world to better their lives. So here at the NCIC, our aim being to promote the circular green economy, we note that as Nigerians, I think women have always been in the forefront of recycling. And even in terms of work, women have always worked, even whether they be housewives, but even as farmers, as traders. I recall that even my own grandmother worked. So we've always had it in Nigeria for women working. But this year we're excited at NCIC to bring to you leading women in this area of waste management in the wake of climate change. As you all know, the theme of the year's International Women's Day for this year is Choose to Challenge. And it indicates that a challenged world is an alert world. And from challenge comes change. So we have these three ladies, amazing women who have taken up challenges, looking at things around them, and have by this been able to make a difference in the environment around them and also with people around them. So I would just like to speak, first of all, our main speaker is Funta Boroface. She's CEO of Change Adati, if I call that right, which is, I think it's Change Dirt, which is a recycling outfit in Abuja. And so we're going to learn how she started this journey into taking all sorts of recyclables, plastic bottles, waste paper, sachet, and all sorts of things, and what she does. And I hope that everybody is challenged to do something different in their environment. Ola, we have some distinguished panelists as well. We have, we're really blessed to have Achenyo Idachaba Obaro. She's actually a TED speaker. I hope a lot of you are into the TED series. And her incredible journey of getting water hyacinth, making water hyacinth something palatable. Most of us hear water hyacinth and we think weeds, we think how it disturbs the economy, how it disturbs people. But here is somebody who looks at water hyacinth and sees opportunity, takes it as a challenge to turn it into something good. And these things are also helping women and children, women and youth. And then the other panelist is Oluwayomi Auda. I'm quite excited about her because I was part of this hackathon. She is the winner of the maiden edition of the Circular Economy, which was organized by ourselves and Kingdom of the Netherlands. We're very excited because she too has been working on sustainability issues, and the pitch that she had that won that challenge was extraordinary among a large number of both men and women. And I'd like to say at NCIC, it was not a matter of choosing a woman, it was a matter of choosing the best. So without much ado, I will just invite you all to an intellectual and a challenging feast this afternoon as I hand over back to Simisola to introduce our first speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that detailed welcome address. We really appreciate you joining us here today. Moving further, we would like to introduce our guest speaker for today. She has done remarkable work in recycling, and she is the CEO, MD, and founder of Chanja Dati, which rightly means change dirt in Hausa. The waste collection and recycling enterprise has not only created jobs, but has impacted women and youth for over 250 women and youth. Her organization currently has over 200 full-time and part-time employees. Prior to starting Chanja Dati, she spent 3 years as a senior aide to Nigeria's Honorable Minister of Power. And before that, she spent 17 years. She spent 17 years gaining global financial strategy and project improvement experience. She has a master's degree in financial management from Pace University's Lubbock School of Business in New York, and has a bachelor's degree in accounting and finance from Northeastern University. Ms. Funto is a founding member and vice president of Recycling Association of Nigeria and founder of the Initiative for the Advancement of Waste Management in West Africa. She wears many hats and is very active in several associations where she makes a great impact. Ms. Olufunto Boroface is a phenomenal woman and a change maker. It's an honor to have you join us here today. You're welcome for your presentation.
Thank you so much for that just very generous introduction. Sometimes when people introduce me, I'm like, are they talking about me really? And I don't think that I suffer from imposter syndrome, but you know, sometimes when you're putting your feet in front of, you know, just one after the other, and you're getting stuff done, you don't remember, you don't really calibrate how much you've accomplished. So again, thank you for even reminding me as well that we've been able to do some good work since we started Chanja Dati 6 years ago. So I'm going to actually share my presentation as well. It's going to be very brief. I was given 10 minutes, and I'm a woman who likes to keep to order. So I'm going to try and make sure it's 10 minutes and no more than 10 minutes. So, and I'm hoping that during the panel discussion, if people have additional questions or even after the fact, that they can always reach out to me. I'd love to engage with people. So again, if I'm given the opportunity to please share my screen, I would love that.
Please hold on while I get started, please.
So while we're doing that, I'm just going to, the table of contents I have is number one, to just quickly talk. You know, I'm the daughter of 2 professors. So and you know, I think Achenyo would appreciate this. I like to quickly just ground if I have the stage, I like to ground my audience quickly in what circular economy is, just for those who probably do not know what circular economy is. I'd like to just quickly, 2 seconds, just tell them what it is. And then I'm going to talk about the potential problem and the possibilities. And then I'm also going to talk about, again, what we choose to challenge today. And I think today being the International Women's Day, it would not be complete without me celebrating other women in the space. So again, I'm super excited that I have 2 of the other phenomenal women joining me, Achenyo Dacha-Baro with Miti Meth and Yomi Auda with, sorry, I forget the name of your company, but who just won the C Hackathon. But again, these are phenomenal women. And I just wanted to mention some of the other women who are allies and who, you know, again, I've had the pleasure of crossing their path, because again, today is all about celebration of women anyway, and it takes a village. It's not just one person. So again, if I'm given the opportunity, am I ready to go?
I just allowed you to be able to do that. Is that working?
Okay, so let me check. So let me just quickly check and see if I am allowed to now. And I cheated quite a bit, so you know, I think I've covered the first 2 pages, so that's good. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. So like I said, again, thank you so much, NCIC, for the invitation. Thank you, Simi. Thank you, Bankole. Thank you to all the other team members. Thank you, Ms. Nika. Thank you, everybody. I'm super excited to have this stage on such a wonderful platform. We will definitely do bigger things for Nigeria by God's grace. Again, I talked about my table of contents earlier on, intro to circular economy, waste management and circular economy, what the possibilities are, celebrating other women. So again, just to quickly ground everybody, for the most part, you know, what we have been doing historically, when we talk about linear versus circular economy, is just basically, historically, what we were doing was linear. So we would take raw materials, we would extract whatever we wanted to extract from it, we would use it, and then we would toss it or we would throw it away. What circular economy is basically saying is that instead of throwing away the goods at the end of usage, we need to consider either recycling, either repair, either reuse, or reducing what we're using. Very simple. So we still take raw materials, we extract what we're going to extract out of it, we make things out of it, we put it together, we manufacture, and then we use it. And the example I'll give in this scenario is, you know, maybe cutting down trees. You cut down a tree, you extract pulp from it, you make paper for textbooks or things like that. What we see that happens or historically has been happening, not just in Nigeria, but around the world, is that people would normally, you know, after they're done writing the book or reading a book, will toss it, you know, and then you see people burning papers or things like that. And the conversation now is no. Instead of, you know, burning that paper, you can actually take that paper and it can be recycled into pulp again and turned into either serviette paper or tissue paper or even new books. And so that is the drive that everybody's talking about now. How do we help you know, our environment? How do we reduce the amount of waste? You know, how do we promote circular economy? So again, hopefully that was just, again, very quick, clear description of what linear versus circular economy is and what we're talking about today in terms of circular economy. So for me, my story would not be complete if I didn't tell you what Chanje Dati does. So Chanje Dati, has been mentioned, means change dirt in Hausa, and it's been in existence for 6 years now. And when I started Chanje Dati 6 years ago, it was me coming off of the role that I had in the Ministry of Power, where I had seen different investors come into the country wanting to do waste to energy, but they would leave because they would be very disappointed because they said, yeah, you guys have a lot of waste, but nobody sorts the waste. And so because everything is intermingled or commingled together, the quality of the waste we need for waste to energy is not exactly what we have. And so for me, it was an aha moment to say, number one, I wanted to create jobs, but I also wanted a situation where waste could be used in its purest form. And so that sort of led me down the path of how do we transform waste, or how do we sort our waste and transform waste. And so I set up Chanje Dati. And I think, as it was mentioned, in that 6 years, we've been able to create over 200 green jobs. We've been able to divert from the landfill over 4 million kilograms of waste, which is 4,000 tons of waste from the landfills, right, into manufacturing processes. So everything from plastic, from paper, from carton, from glass, are all different recyclable materials that we collect and we then, hand over to manufacturers who use them in their manufacturing process. But again, the intersection between circular economy and waste management is what I have on the screen right now. As of 2016, there was 176 million tons of waste that was generated in West Africa. And Nigeria being the biggest, the lion of Africa, right? And the biggest kahuna, generated over 40%. I was even surprised because I thought we would generate a lot more than that. But, based on the statistics, we generated around 40% of that waste. By 2050, that number is going to triple to 516 million tons of waste. And if we don't do anything about it, if we don't pursue and promote circular economy, it means that each and every one of us are going to be living on dump sites. And again, because of time and everything, I'm not going to go through, some of what happens when, again, we're all exposed to waste, everything from air pollution to just even polluting our water systems and our drainage systems. By 2050, the statistic, the grim statistic is that if we don't do anything about plastic pollution, like there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fishes. This is just reality in life right now. Unfortunately, like we said, only about 5% of this is recycled. And again, that is the intersection between waste management and circular economy. How do we raise that number up to from 5% up all the way to hopefully 100%, or even if not 100% to 80%, 90%. That again is and that's one of the reasons why I said, one of the things that I mean, even though we're choosing to challenge and it's International Women's Day, I want to use this platform to also choose to challenge everybody that is listening to me today to say we choose to challenge this waste problem, because if we don't do anything about it, honestly, we're all going to be in trouble. And there's a lot of things I could talk economically, and there's a lot of things I could talk from a health perspective, from a social perspective, that affects us when we don't manage our waste properly. But again, I'm challenging everybody on this platform today and who potentially will be listening to me afterwards that please, please, please get involved, especially with waste management and circular economy. So what are some of the policies and what are some of the things that I personally, and I'm sure that the other women on our panel are choosing to challenge today? I mean, the possibilities are endless, right? For me, one of the things I want to challenge is the norms, right? So circular economy sector right now is mainly male dominated for the most part, but it doesn't have to be so. So I'm challenging especially any woman that's listening today, get involved. Don't be dissuaded. Don't be shy. Don't be intimidated. Don't be overwhelmed. Get involved. There's enough space for both male and female. The other thing I would say is expectations. I remember when I had a very illustrious, and very well paid job in the US before I moved. I worked for GE for 12 years. I was a vice president. I was earning 6 figures. And then I moved back to Nigeria, I was earning 19,800 after earning all these dollars. And then after that, I decided I wanted to go into entrepreneurship. And it wasn't just entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship in waste. And even the people that love me the most were like, so after spending almost 20 years in America, you came back to be doing dirty work, and that was, people were concerned. People were like, what is going on? But let me tell you, I always challenge people and say, look, not everybody has to be a doctor in the medical field. Not everybody has to be a lawyer in the legal field. Not everybody has to be an accountant. There is, as long as you're able to make impact where you are, and as long as you're able to move the needle, and as long as you're able to create jobs, I think that for me is the most important. So for me, one of the things that I choose to challenge today, and I'm encouraging everybody to choose to challenge, is expectations. And people around you who love you are going to try and dissuade you sometimes and say, and I'll tell you this, some of the people who were trying to dissuade me the most are now my biggest supporters. They've seen me stay the course. They've seen me really put blood, sweat, tears, and everything into this. And they've seen it become a success where we're impacting lives and we're making a bit of a difference. And so right now, there's some of my biggest diehard supporters who will go to bat for me. Again, some people are looking for the tried and tested path. And I'm saying, no, look for new opportunities. And honestly, this whole circular economy space is wide open. It is, for me, the tool that can potentially change the course of not just West Africa, but also not just Nigeria, but West Africa and even Africa as a whole, especially post-COVID. We need to all come up with innovative solutions to handle everything from waste management, recycling, using tech as a tool. The possibilities are limitless. And so please, 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 just don't look at, some of the tried and tested path. I want everybody listening to me to look at the new opportunities, find a problem and make an impact by providing a solution that makes sense. And then in as much as I love and respect our men folk, I will still say that, for the most part, we're still sort of trying to figure out ourselves in Africa, I would say, but Nigeria, where we're mainly a patriarchal society, right? But I want to challenge today and say, look, anything a man can do, I believe strongly that a woman can do better. or if not better, but at least can be at par, right? So again, this is some of the possibilities, and this is some of the norms that I personally choose to challenge today. The norms, the expectations, the tried and tested path, and the fact that we live in a patriarchal society, and just understanding and believing that you know, what a man can do, a woman can do better, and we don't necessarily have to fall into the stereotypes that we normally fall into, especially in a place like Nigeria. And like I said, there are a lot of people who love us, who will try and dissuade us or persuade us from going down sometimes a path that is not clear to them, or you know, doesn't make sense. Again, my hope is that everybody, especially the women who are listening today as we celebrate International Women's Day, as long as you have a conviction and as long as you're making change and you see the impact that you potentially will make, then please go for it. Don't be dissuaded. I mean, you know, since I started Chanted 6 years ago, like I said, over 200 jobs created. We've been able to divert over 4,000 tons of waste. But out of that has come our NGO called Waste Africa, or the Initiative for the Advancement of Waste Africa. And through that, we've been able to train and equip over 1,000 waste pickers with PPE, with health and safety screening, with opening of teaching them financial literacy. We're right now onboarding 800 children who are going to be going to school, and they're going to be paying their fees with waste. We started with the pilot of 100 children last year, and now with the support of the Coca-Cola Foundation, we're taking that number up to 800, and they're going to be paying their fees with waste. You know, we've launched an initiative called Waste for Justice, where, you know, we're supporting 2 NGOs where we're collecting waste, and that waste is going to be used to support a legal fund for those pre-trial detainees who, you know, maybe for a misdemeanor are spending years in prison when they should just be spending days at the most. You know, so we're using waste, honestly, as a tool, as a currency for social change and for social good. And that for me is the call and the clarion call today for everybody who's listening, that as we're talking about waste, as we're talking about circular economy, you can come up with innovative solutions to sort of move the needle ahead. And again, this is not just the purview of one person, it's not just the purview of one gender, it's the purview of all genders. And so again, like I said, I'm going to try and I want to be respectful of time. So my next page now is just going to talk about celebrating other women. And I'm going to quickly breeze through this. So in the private sector, you know, I want to celebrate, you know, Bilikis Adebi Abiola, CEO of Recyclers. I want to celebrate Chioma Okono, CEO of Recycle Point. For the FMCGs, Omamaka Onyemelukwe of Head of PR and Sustainability for Coca-Cola, Kemi Ajasa of Nestle. For policy drivers, I want to celebrate Dr. Ndidinoli Edosian, the chair of CEIP, Kemi Ajakai, the board president of the Africa Circular Economy Network, Nigeria. For I call them Gen 2.0, but just younger ladies coming up in the recycling space. Wumi Ogunde of EMR Consult, and Rita Ideahi of CEO of EcoBata. And please, anybody who's on here, go check out these women. Find their social media handle pages. Like them, follow them, support them, even if it's just a word of encouragement. I think, you know, again, as we're going through this process, sometimes it gets lonely. So when any word of encouragement would be appreciated. In the private sector, Ms. Keton Oluwayomi, the CEO of Environmental Harmony, academia, Engineer Shade Nubi of Unilag. In government, Mrs. Aderonke Odeneye, the PAMSEC of Lagos Ministry of Environment. Arese Onagesi, the Executive Secretary of the Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance. Chisom Onwankor of Ministry of Environment. I mean, these are all women who in their own sphere are making moves and are doing things that hopefully will support all of us. And again, I would be remiss if I didn't mention again, Achenyo Idachaba Obaro of Miti Meth, and Yomi Auda of, again, sorry, I forget the name, but you know, these are women who are doing stuff. And again, I'm so proud to be in company of all these women, because it takes a village, and I know I wouldn't be able to do it. And representation is so important. So seeing people like, you know, Achenyo making strides and doing her thing, and you know, her supporting me, being a supporter, has just been phenomenal and has been such a game changer for me. So again, on that note, I want to thank NCIC so much for the opportunity to be able to share this. I know I went fast, but again, I'm trying to keep to my 10 minutes. There'll be opportunity to, you know, ask me other additional questions. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. It was very insightful. Thank you for challenging us. I'm hoping that everyone on this call today will take the challenge to get involved, will take the challenge to choose to know how to dispose of waste properly, and how to also create innovations around it to change our environment and to impact the society positively. And also, it was really nice to hear about the initiative that you mentioned, how kids are going to be able to pay their ways through school, through waste to school through waste. I mean, it's really interesting to hear, and we're really, really, really looking forward to seeing this work and replicated even in other parts of Nigeria. If you have questions, please stay on the line or stay with us. We'll be taking questions for for this presentation after the panelist discussions, and then we'll also be having people come live. So if you would like to show yourself, hopefully we'll have people who would like to interact with some of our panelists today. So indicate in the chat session and chat section, and then we'll be able to have you speak live and ask your questions with time. Moving on, we'll be going right into the panel discussion today, where we'll have our three amazing guests talk about their innovations, their initiative, and how they are changing lives and around the innovations that they have come up with. The first on my list today is Ms. Achenyo Idachaba Obaro. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll quickly give you a brief profile of hers, and then we can have her join us. Ms. Achenyo Idachaba, pardon me please, Idachaba Obaro is a computer scientist turned social entrepreneur. She is the founder of MitiMe, an award-winning social enterprise transforming waste and building livelihoods through the transformation of invasive aquatic weeds and agricultural residues. To date, MitiMe has trained over 400 women in communities within Nigeria and Ghana. These aquatic weeds and agricultural residues are transformed into eco-friendly home decors and lifestyle products from natural fibers. She previously worked, before founding MitiMe, she worked at ExxonMobil for 11 years, where she held a variety of regional and global positions. She has a BSc in Computer Science and Economics from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and an MSc in Applied Computer Science. She held the position of Associate Lecturer at the University of Ibadan, and she has been featured on several TV shows for her remarkable work, and she has a TED Talk that has over 1.8 million views so far. You are welcome, Ms. Achenyo. It is great to have you here.
Thank you very much, Timisola. It's great to be here. Thank you, NCIC, and thank you for that very beautiful and insightful presentation that you gave earlier. So I look forward to the panel discussion.
All right, Ma. So next on my list is Ms. Oluwayomi Auda. She is the co-founder of Clearis Waste Management Ventures, an organic waste management solutions company operating in Southwest Nigeria. She is a sustainability practitioner with extensive footprint in the agribusiness and waste management sector, where she champions composting as a service. This is a new level, I must say. It is great to have you here. She also was the winner of the first Circular Economy Hackathon organized by the NCIC and in collaboration with the Dutch Consulate in Lagos. She holds a degree in agricultural economics with honors from Olabisi Onabanjo University. And also she has a certificate in sustainable waste management from Lagos Business School. You're welcome, Ms. Yomi. It is great to have you here with us today.
Thank you very much. I feel so honored here as well.
You're welcome. And last but not the least, we'll also be having our guest speaker for today on the panel discussion as well. Her name is Ms. Punto, and she is here already. So you're welcome again.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
So first, I would like to know, I'm sure every other person on this meeting will also like to know how and when you decided, Ms. Punto, to move from this really nice job that you had at GE to start recycling in Nigeria? How did you get, what got you to that place where you decided that this is what I want to do now?
Thank you, Simi, for that question. It was not a straight journey, I have to be honest. So I had spent close to 20 years in the US. I knew that I wanted to come back to Nigeria and give back, and I was ready. I think I was at crossroads. I knew that if I stayed in the US at that point in time, that I probably would never come back to Nigeria. I was feeling like if I stayed and I continued my career, to come back would be difficult. And so I made that move, that I was going to come back to Nigeria and serve. And even though I was in my late 30s, I still came back and served. And I was fortunate enough to serve at the Ministry of Power. And like I said, I was in charge of a portfolio for investors and donor relations. And we would have a lot of investors come in interested in waste to energy projects, but they would come in and say, you guys don't even sort your waste. Everything is so, so we can't use it for energy because the calorific value is so high. And, you guys need to sort your waste. And so for me, even though I spent 3 years in that role, it was an aha moment to say, you know what, I didn't want to go back into private, working for an organization after this. I wanted to launch out on my own. And it was because of several reasons. Number one was I wanted to create jobs. I mean, for me, it's really the biggest, because one of the things that used to happen when I would come and visit during my stay in the US was that, and I tell people this, when I was growing up in Nigeria, not to date myself, but we're proud people. And this is what I remember about also whenever I used to come home to Nigeria, people old enough to be my grandparents would be genuflecting and greeting. And you're like, oh, what's going on? I'm like, my daughter, no job. Because they think you might have $1 or $2 to give them, they will do anything. And I was like, what is going on here? And, when they say my daughter, no job, and you look around really, and you see that really there are really no jobs, it behooves each and every one of us, again, to make sure that whatever we do, hopefully has a component where we can support or employ other people. And so for me, that was sort of the start of, okay, how do I do it? What do I do? And then when, again, the stars aligned and this whole issue of we weren't sorting our waste came up, I was like, okay, you know what? This is a challenge. And, the other thing I would tell everybody is, please, 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 we cannot wait for government to do everything. We all have a responsibility to take to. So please, if you have the stomach for it, definitely try entrepreneurship. It's not going to be easy. I'm not promising you easy, but it's going to be fulfilling because you can. I have staff members now who in the last year or so, 5 of my staff members have gotten married. 2 of them have had babies. And they're able to make their lives based on the money they're earning from a company that I had an idea of 6 years ago and we started. Some of them are going back to now university. Some of them, are starting to pay, are able to pay rent. So it's an impact, and then looking around, we need to do a lot of more sensitization and awareness, but hopefully we'll start to see less and less waste on our roadways, on our, in our gutters and things like that. So that was why I started. I left a cushy job in air quotes. But honestly, it's been way, way more fulfilling in terms of just being able to give back than my 6-figure job would have been able to do in the US. I hope that, answered your question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Ms. Achenyo, you also had a well-paying job, and I'm sure that our audience would really like to know, at what point did you discover that water hyacinth was going to be gold? At what point did you discover that, okay, things could be made out of it? And you now have fabrics and different things. So yeah, please do share. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Simisola, for that question. I had to smile as Funto was talking because I could relate to every single thing that she said in regards to her move and the trajectory that she ended up following. It wasn't exactly, I was working at ExxonMobil and then all of a sudden I had this epiphany that water hyacinth was the next best thing. It really wasn't like that. Similar to Funta's journey, I mean, I had been in the US as an adult. So for me, it was the second time around for about 20 years. And I always knew that, at some point in time, I also wanted to come back to Nigeria to make my own contribution. And I did it when I did in 2009, because I knew that if I spent a moment longer in the US, the likelihood of returning to Nigeria would be very, very slim. So I actually returned to Nigeria. I was 41 when I came back to Nigeria, and essentially started from ground zero. I knew I wanted going to go back into the oil and energy sector. I wanted I wanted to do something that also I wanted to work in a sector that actually would have a positive impact on the economy. And I wanted to do something at the grassroots as well. And so for me, my exposure in the oil and gas industry, I got to see what alternative energy was, the renewables, the effect of some of our actions on the environment, and decided I wanted to do something with the environment that would mitigate some of these negative impacts that we see as a result of our human activity. And so I started off actually consulting, doing environmental consulting, and worked on different project teams with academia at the University of Ibadan. And was very fortunate that I also got to work on a project that was, the project that was initiated by the State Department. It was part of the Global Methane Initiative. So it was while I was in that mindset of looking at waste recovery and utilization, working on these various projects that were focused on that I came on Water Hyacinth. And I like to tell people it was a divine opportunity. It was a divine appointment of sorts. I was also in the mindset so that when the opportunity or the problem presented itself, I didn't quite see it as a problem, but I saw it as an opportunity that needed to be, addressed. And so I came upon Water Hyacinth. Mine was a visual because I was actually in Lagos on Third Mainland Bridge, saw Water Hyacinth as this dense, mat of foliage, and I saw fishing boats that ought to have been on the water but were hemmed in. So I started thinking, okay, what can we do about this problem? How can we turn this problem into a solution and a win-win solution dependent on the waterways for their livelihoods and also for the environment? And that's how it all started. That really was the genesis of Water Hyacinth transformation and ultimately creating an artisan economy that focused on transforming Water Hyacinth into products that are valuable and that have economic value, and provide livelihood to people within the community. So as at today, we've trained over 500, actually close to 600 women and youth on how to transform Water Hyacinth into products of value. So that essentially was the genesis. We've been at this since 2011. So we are going to be celebrating our 10th year. This year, it has not been a cakewalk, as I'm sure Oluwayomi and Funto can attest. I started from ground zero. So it wasn't as if, I had this model that I could follow in terms of what people had done in this creative space with Water Hyacinth. So it was actually, learning along the way and, just taking the bull by the horns and, figuring out how to make things happen. And so here we are 10 years later and still at it. There's still a lot of work to be done. You mentioned the different things that we have made. I mean, we do a lot of decorative home goods and accessories, and most recently, within the past 1 or 2 years, have started looking at how we can actually create fashion accessories from the Water Hyacinth. So looking at textile panels, looking at things like buttons as well. And we've actually moved from Water Hyacinth to agricultural residues. We're looking at coconut shells. We're looking at banana fiber. So it's taking that knowledge we have gained working with Water Hyacinth and actually translating that into other natural fiber avenues as well.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on your 10th year. I can imagine how much work you have put into it, and it's amazing the amount of impact you have also made, training over 600 people. I mean, in a society where getting jobs are difficult and people have to hustle their way through life, you're not just making profits from your business, but you're also impacting others as well and creating jobs. So well done and thank you. Ms. Yomi, your line of business is quite interesting. It is not just about upcycling or recycling per se, or of things that are just lying around. This is about food waste, I believe. This is about food waste now. And how did you discover that this is what you wanted to do?
Okay, thank you so much. So my journey is quite different from Puntos and Achanyes. So I have a background in agriculture. So I've been in agribusiness for like 8 years now. And something happened in 2018 in Lagos, and I'm so sure that a lot of people that reside in Lagos know. So there's a dump site as you're coming into Lagos from Ojota. That's the Oluwayomi dump site. Then I was just busy minding my business as a farmer, growing vegetables and all of that. And then I realized, okay, so I heard in the news that the dump sites went up in flames. And I was like, how? What happened? Did they put fire there and all that? So I did a bit of research. Okay, so before I did the research, I heard about it and that was just it. And then I happened to pass through that area. I was going to Third Mainland Bridge and I realized that there was this thick, very thick, is it fume now? And it had a very bad stench. I was like, what's this? From waste? How? So I started to do my research and then I went back to agriculture 101. Yeah, I remember that there's a lot of breaking down of organic material that we always do. We pile them up and then it turns into fertilizer. And I'm like, if the reason why these landfills and dumps, rather we don't have landfills, dump sites are bursting into flames is because of the organic waste and food waste that are piled up there. Let me just do something about it now. It was a journey where it is still a journey where people still think I'm not serious. Like my sister used to tell me that she used to pray me out of waste management. That what she finds really, really appalling is what I work with. I said, don't worry. It is like there's an interjection and a cross relationship between proper sustainable waste management and agriculture. That's just the honest truth. Because if you continue to look at food waste and organics, for example, even agricultural residues, if you continue to look at them as waste, then I'm sorry, you're missing the point because it is actually fertilizer and you can use them to grow food sustainably. So those are the research I went through between February, March, and April 2018. And I started to collect my own kitchen food waste and then from friends and family. And then they would give me and sort of like cover their noses and all of that. I'll collect and I started to pile, I did a lot of research on them. I'll pile them up and then get some poultry manure from my farm and from other farms, add to it, get sawdust. And I think it was in July, after piling up and I started to do research and learn more about it, I realized that it turned into compost. Someone did an analysis of it and said, oh, this has NPK. This is good, this is rich. And I'm like, oh, it came from waste. One will literally finish eating mango and throw the peel away, or we peel our bananas and throw them away and all of that. So I then realized that the issue is not just about us tossing those things away. It's actually about us not knowing the value in them. So that's why we usually say that one of what we do is we convert waste into high value products. And then the honest truth about this is that everyone can do this. When we all have a waste segregation mindset, and I thank God that I have someone like Punto on this call, because the truth is you cannot overemphasize segregation of waste at the point of generation, either PETs or metals or plastics or food waste. And I'm sorry to say, food waste is even worse because you can pick up recyclables on the dump site, wash them and recycle. But for food waste, you can't do that. So it has to be segregated immediately after use. So that is how the journey started. I started to go to markets and to restaurants, give them buckets and garbage bags, and then they put their waste inside. So I had a list of the biodegradable wastes that I want, and then they put for me, and then I go collect, give them a new bag, and I started to compost them, and I started to sell the compost, and I was making money. At first, it was more like a social impact because it was, okay, it's a pain point for me, preventing dump sites from bursting into flames, because truly, most dump sites are ticking time bombs waiting to explode. Honestly, that's what they are, really. So I was like, okay, I'm doing social good, let me continue doing it. But I realized that the effort of turning this thing even into the valuable product is not easy. It will not take one day, it will not take 1 month. And then that's how the journey started. And then I relocated from Lagos, so I'm now based in Oyo State, and then the journey still continues. So now we now started offering, and thanks to Funto, I had a conversation with her in 2019. She might not remember, and then I asked her some questions, and then she gave me an option. Okay, so if you don't have food waste and all of that in abundance, you could start making briquettes and co. You can't remember, don't worry, I remember very well. So I started to do a lot of research about the waste around me. I realized that in this area, the sawmills usually burn sawdust. So they don't use it for anything whatsoever. They set fire on it and they burn it. I realized, okay, so if someone like Funto is saying I can turn them even into briquettes, that's fine for me. However, I can even also add them to my compost pile. So not just collecting food biodegradables, but also collecting from the sawmills and also collecting from the farms. So we decided to do composting as a service, whereby we go to farms and then probably after harvesting the husks and the shells and the, what's it called now? The cobs of corn, we shred and then we turn to compost for them on their facility. So now the major thing we do is composting as a service, which is, so we work with restaurants now, we work with households, and then there's a new innovative solution to food waste management that we decided to work on, which is the food fermentation, which is bokashi.
Yes. So quickly, you hello. Great.
So
I want.
so
Okay. I'm sorry to cut you. Our time is fast spent and we haven't even really gone deep. We've not taken questions. So I wanted to just quickly ask. So as women, I wanted to ask that are there certain challenges that you encountered during or when you started this business? Was there any barrier, so to speak, as you started your journey in this in your individual businesses? I'll start with you, Ms. Yomi.
can I get the question again? I lost you there.
Okay, I said, were there any particular challenges you faced because you were a woman when you started this composting as a service?
Yes, I think first of all, it was more like people saying to me that it's supposed to be a man's job. Going down and dirty and collecting and turning and visiting men-dominated farms and all of that. I think that was it, that this is supposed to be done by men. That was the challenge majorly. This is supposed to be a man's job, not a woman's job. Why are you like this? Are you a tomboy? I think that was it generally for me.
All right, thank you. Ms. Funto, how about you? Was there any particular?
Yeah, I think it would be the same. I think people just thought I should get an office job, come work in Nigeria or whatever, where I'll be getting AC blown on my head every day and be driving an official car instead of going to the dump site, and yeah, so definitely that.
Okay, Mr. Achenyo, how about you?
Okay, so similarly, the similar threads there. I think the biggest challenge that is faced today is in terms of people recognizing what we're doing as a valuable contributor to the economy. So, talked about people genuflecting and saying, their daughters or sons do not have jobs. But then if you tell them, okay, I have a job for you in the artisan sector, it isn't as sexy enough as, the kind of job that they're looking for, failing to realize that, the other jobs that they're interested in or they think are more sexy or more appealing or more respectable are not necessarily all that it's cut out to be. And of course, you need certain qualifications for that as well. So it's just getting the challenge of getting people to change their mindset. It's about what a job really is and what a valuable job is, what a respectable job is. And I think the handmade sector in which we're involved is one of those sectors that deserves greater respect. So, I mean, if you look at the value of the market share of the artisan economy, it's $32 billion worldwide. Now, Nigeria's contribution to that might be very, very slim. And maybe that's where we need to challenge that and say, okay, let's increase Nigeria's share of that market by giving this sector the respect that it's due it.
All right, thank you.
So, and I wanted to quickly just chime in and say, also representation matters, right? So even when the voices are saying, oh, this is a male-dominated voice, for me, when I looked around and I saw people like Achenyo and some other ladies who were doing in the sort of waste management, space, it gave me the kahunas to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to do this. So again, I think even as we're talking about some of the challenges, for me, I was able to overcome those challenges because I saw people who looked like me do it and be successful. So representation truly does matter in this space.
All right, thank you so much for that. So quickly, let me just remind our guests that if you would like to ask any questions, please signify, send me a message in the chat, and I will mute you so that you can have your time to ask them questions. So like when you mentioned earlier that, Ms. Achenyo, that the jobs around recycling and waste management isn't really as attractive as the other, well, more corporate jobs. How do you think that we in this space, how do you think we can make these jobs, well, more appealing to Nigerian youth? Because of the high level of unemployment.
Right. I think a lot of it has to do with also creating, preaching the message, and we have to consistently do it and do it on a regular basis, right? Is to let people know what the benefits of the economy, working in this particular economy is, and what they would get from it and what they can give to it as well. So it's a give and get. So helping them to realize that, they're really playing a vital role in, ensuring that, we do end up having a world for generations to come, an earth that for generations to come, and they have a valuable role to play making that happen. But I think a lot of it has to do with sensitization, awareness, and continuous education. Let's share the statistics of, what we're doing and how it's a valuable contributor, to development of our country and the world at large also.
Thank you. Ms. Funto, the recycling sector is largely run by informal, largely informal, and we see a lot of people going around holding sacks and taking up recyclable items around our neighborhoods. I'm wondering, how are you able to deal with these people? I'm guessing that you work with a lot of them as well. How easy is it to really interact with them and get them to do stuff for you when you need it done?
Yeah. Thank you, Simi, for that question. I always tell people that those are really the unsung heroes of waste management in Nigeria. I say that because they will go to any length. They would walk how many miles to go get materials as long as they see that there's value in it. They will go to places where our trucks, or we don't have infrastructure for road, to go pick up materials for people, right? To go pick up waste for people. Their means of disposing of that waste sometimes can be called into question. But again, I think that is where the government needs to play a role in making sure that they're well trained, because they're willing to do the work, right? They're willing to walk into any community that has no road to go and pick up waste. I think it behooves the government now to get involved and train them properly, and also then give them the right positions to drop off some of this waste. But again, for me, they're such a critical part of the ecosystem and of the value chain. Like I said, through our NGO, we trained over 1,000 waste pickers just recently in Abuja, where we give them PPEs, we give them boots, safety vests, we give them nose masks, we give them gloves. They did medical screening, we did health and screening, health and safety training, and we brought in a bank to help them open accounts. We taught them financial literacy, because honestly, it's so informal that a lot of them don't have bank accounts, they don't have ID, they don't have all these things. So again, for me, I think they are such a critical part of this whole conversation, and like I said, the ecosystem, that I would like to see the government, really tap into them as a resource. And unfortunately, for the longest time, they've been shunned, they've been, looked down on, they've been, just pushed aside. And when you see the conditions that they live in, you weep sometimes, because even your dog would not live there. So again, I would love a situation where either government or stakeholders who are involved create a more enabling environment for them and bring them into the conversation. Usually when we're talking about some of these things, they don't have representation at all, which I think is wrong. And so for me, I try to be a voice for them, right? Which is why we're doing all the, the work we're doing with waste speakers. And I also would say that, yes, just a quick statistic that based on last count that I know, over 500,000 of them in Nigeria. In Abuja alone, I mean, FCT, over 10,000 waste speakers, right? And some of them might be tired with some of them are thieves or whatever, but if they're giving uniforms, they're giving ID cards, everybody knows who they are, some of those things would sort of reduce. And they're highly migrants, a lot of them come from upper north, and are seeking their fortune. So again, once they can't do this job anymore, what are they going to be doing, right? So those are some of the things we need to start talking about and thinking about. But for me, they're unsung heroes of the waste management and recycling sector, and they're critical part of the work we're doing.
Definitely, I believe that with more enlightenment on the part of the government, and also making the sector more formal, educating these people, the waste speakers, getting them IDs, like you said, and helping them to really know their roles and how they can move around in the environment would help. Ms. Yomi, you recently won the first place for the Circular Economy Hackathon, and you won with a really straightforward idea. How has that okay, so how can people begin to use this idea in their homes? For example, since the day I saw that presentation, to throw away food waste in my house is usually a challenge. I'm like, if I could just get a bukashi here, I would just change the or it will go through the composting process and it will be useful again. So how do people get access to the innovation?
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you so much to NCIC for actually organizing the hackathon alongside the Dutch consulate in Lagos. So yes, the bokashi composting is actually not new. However, no matter how much you really want to do it, you have to first of all be ready to do the work. And the work is that, so you typically, after sorting your food waste and the biodegradables and all, you definitely must have a composter or a container. And then there's a bran, which is the inoculant that has to be sprinkled on it. So all that, the bran, the composter, and all of that is what we make available to clients. And then we ensure that even if we can collect the fermented waste from them, we ensure that they also turn it into soil themselves or turn it into compost themselves and use it to grow vegetables. That's actually the model. So we use that to ensure that you can start growing your own food by yourself from your waste. So the technology, not the technology really, the innovation is readily available. Get your composter, get your inoculant, and continue bokashing. It's available.
All right, thank you all so much for your contributions, and they were very insightful. Does anybody have any questions for our panelists? If you do have a question, please signify in the chat box. But as we round up, I would like to hear from our panelists today. We have all realized not a lot of people even understand or have gone into or know the wealth that they can get from this waste that we see lying around us. What advice will you give to younger Nigerians who are currently maybe jobless or looking to go into the waste management sector? What kind of advice will you give them to help them start and to know how to find their way around it?
Okay, so if I could, okay, all right. So if I could just say a few words here, especially to the unemployed youth. And I have seen, youth from the rural areas to the peri-urban to the urban areas. One thing I would say is key is first attitude. The youth have to have the right attitude and mindset when approaching or wanting to get into the waste management sector. If they come with the mindset that this is an instant spinner you know, that you're going to hit it big or hammer once you get into it. You're going to become very discouraged and disillusioned. I think it's a very painful process, and I can speak to that from what we do. I mean, when you talk about transforming hyacinth, I mean, it doesn't happen in an instant. Somebody has to harvest the water hyacinth. It has to dry, and then you have to weave it. That's just the first stage transformation. And then you talk about creating the larger objects, or, you know, the carpets, the baskets, etc. That's even on another level as well. So it's not something that's instantaneous. It's a patient process. I call this the patient economy. But again, you know, because we're doing handmade commands a premium. So you can be rest assured that, you know, if you put in the patient work that is required at the end of the day, you'll certainly be rewarded accordingly. But you have to have the right mindset to get into waste management or the artisan handmade economy. And I think that's, yeah, I think that youth, just generally speaking, need, you know, some healthy doses of patience.
Thank you so much. Going in with the right mindset and being very patient is key.
Yeah.
So, Ms. Punto, what would you say to those who are starting?
Yeah, I would say you have to be tenacious, right? You have to you go in with, like Achayan said, the mindset that it's not going to come in easy, but you need to be tenacious. But the other thing that I would also say outside of being tenacious is that you also, I think in some degree, the money will come. If you're dedicated, consistent, the money will eventually come, right? But it has to be more than you trying to get money. You know, it has to have solve a larger purpose. You know, the 3 Ps, right? People, planet, or profit. If you're solely focused on profits for anything, you will never be successful. You know, and so if you're able to understand the intersection of the people aspect of it, that you can impact lives, and you can understand the planet aspect of it, that you can also make changes that would impact your environment, the money will come. And so, you know, I want to also just encourage you to use that. Get in, just do it, join, but, you know, make sure that, you know, you're thinking about those 3 things. And I wanted to just say, when I was talking about the waste picker, that's the one thing that I also will say about them. They don't turn their noses down or up at any job in order to do this. Whereas, you know, and they're typically from a certain part of the country. Unfortunately for me, I've seen this where other parts of the country, the youth there are just like, I will never, you know, this is dirty work, right? So to Achayan's point, change of mindset, but tenacity, and just also thinking not just about the profit angle of it, but people and planet and how that comes together. If you're passionate and you can find where you fit in that, then I think some of the challenges that come your way, you'll be able to weather the storm.
Thank you so much for that. That would be really useful for people, because a lot of people want to get rich quick these days, and they hardly focus on the long term. So I'm hoping that their mindsets will change and be more patient to reap the rewards at the end of the day. Ms. Yomi, what would you say to people who are just starting?
Okay, the first thing I would say is that it's worthy of note that for every sustainable waste management, the first thing is advocacy. So we are already in this industry, and I think it would be fine for us to ensure that advocacy is it for us. Now, when people begin to show interest, I would love to let them know that volunteering is the first thing, to learn and to also find your place exactly in this space, like volunteering. Most of the times, waste management organizations do not have, a lot of people do not have plans to, youths that are going into waste management do not have plans like Achenyo and as Mfunto said. They just want to make money, or they want to start and get rich quick, and that's not it. If you do not know how exactly you want to plug in, the first thing for you to do is to volunteer. A lot of us have programs coming up. There are people that do cleanups and all of that. Find a place to plug in first. Know exactly what niche you want to carve for yourself, then you can begin to do it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of our panelists. I am not seeing anyone who's asked any questions yet, but I'm certain that by the time this recording goes online, I'm sure that people would reach out to you if they have further questions. And I'm hoping that they also learn to volunteer as well. It is great to volunteer. It gives you the opportunity to learn on the job. It gives you opportunity to see things differently. So I'm hoping that people key into all of the opportunities that are out there. So with that, we have come to the end of the panel discussion, I mean. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sticking with us. I'm hoping that we could quickly do the choose to challenge polls in solidarity with the rest of the women across the world, where we choose to challenge social ills and injustice, discrimination, gender inequality in our society. So if you are on, please turn on your videos. Okay. Can you please turn on your videos? Okay. Thank you. Okay, I can see Mr. Bankole's kids. Thank you for joining us. Okay, anyone else turning on their videos? Okay. All right, so I think that's all of us. Mr. Boyega, should we wait for you to turn your video on again? Okay, great. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So this is the polls for this year. So you can raise any of your hands up in support of women across the world against the social. Sorry, I have to also be the one to screenshot this. So give me a second, please. Okay, this is hard. Okay. Wow. Okay. Let me just use my phone in that case because I'm not able to do the screenshots on my okay. That's this and that. Okay, so thankfully I got my colleague here to help me with that. So yeah, we have everybody. You guys, you need to raise up your hands, so okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Great. Thank you all for joining us and for sticking with us. I'm hoping that we all are more aware about the opportunities that are available within the circular economy. Now we know what it takes to start, or at least, but we can now know that we can volunteer to with some of these organizations to learn about what they're doing. We're done. Thank you, Ma. We're done. We're done with the screenshots. Thank you. Yes. So we now know how to go about developing or creating solutions that not only profit us, but also impacts the environment positively. If you would like more information, you can reach out to Nigeria Climate Innovation Center on all of our social media handles. You can also visit our website for different opportunities. We have Ms. Yomi here, who out of over 200 people who applied for the hackathon, emerged the winner. You can also bring in your amazing ideas and we'll be sure to engage with you. Thank you all so very much for your time. Thank you and happy International Women's Day to each and every one of you. Thank you. My name is Simisola Ami, and thank you guys for coming. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
ladies. Bye.